All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we are going to talk about some comments made by Cam Newton on who the face of the NFL is. And he talked about Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. So I kind of just wanted to go over what he had to say, give you my thoughts. So let's get into that. So Cam Newton has done a lot of talking on his podcast. He had some comments about Brock Purdy. So he has done a lot of talking on this podcast, and it's made some headlines. And most recently, he talked about who he thinks the face of the NFL is. Now, it's not really shocking as to what he said, but it made some headlines, so I just wanted to go over it. So this is what he had to say. In modern day, if somebody were to say who's the face of the NFL right now, he said Patrick Mahomes. He said, for as great as Lamar Jackson is and has been, there's never been a point in time where somebody has dominated the MVP race and polls of unanimous winner like Lamar Jackson has. But it's still Patrick Mahomes because of one reason, and one reason only: 3 Super Bowl rings. There's never a moment in time where you can be a face of a league without championship rings. And even if you do have championship rings, we go off to another discussion point. Are you marketable? And then he also said, he brought up when he won the MVP back in 2015. He said, when I won the MVP back in 2015, me still being voted the number one player by my peers, Tom Brady was still the face of the league. I'd also say J.J. Watt was the face of the league too for some time from a non-quarterback position. And even really, Drew Brees was a golden boy. I'd also put Aaron Rodgers in there as well, but that's just me. And then I know that Lamar Jackson, he didn't really make a he didn't really seem concerned about it with being the NFL's most popular player. His focus is on getting the Super Bowl himself. And I feel like Lamar has that mentality where those kinds of things don't bother him. Like, I know I did do a segment earlier. I think it was when the schedule came out and they were opening up against the Chiefs, and he was asked a ton of questions about hey, this is a team that has your number, and they beat you in the playoffs last year, and he kind of just ignored it. He said it's another game, it's one game towards our ultimate goal of getting a Super Bowl. So stuff like that doesn't seem. I mean, I feel like that's a little different. I feel like in the back of his mind, it does kind of bother him that the Chiefs kind of keep winning against the Ravens. But this, I mean, I don't think he really cares. And I mean, I would agree with Cam Newton. I think most people would agree with Cam Newton that Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL right now, because of the success that he's had in a short amount of time. Became a starter in 2018 and has been in the AFC Championship game every single year that he's been the starter for the Chiefs, which is impressive. And not only that, 3 Super Bowls on top of that, and a couple of MVPs as well. And Lamar Jackson has a couple of MVPs, but the problem is the playoff success or the lack thereof. And last year, it looked like it could have been the Ravens' year because they were very good, and they're still going to be good. They could be even better because now you added Derrick Henry to the backfield. But last year could have been their year. The Chiefs, their offense, they were struggling all year, but the Chiefs made it to the AFC Championship game, and they ended up winning, and getting past the Ravens, winning the Super Bowl against the 49ers. And again, Lamar Jackson loses to Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, I mean, right now, and yesterday I brought up, I talked about the Manning Brady rivalry and how we don't really have that at the moment because you got Patrick Mahomes who has played a few guys a handful of times: Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. But I mean, the closest right now I would say is Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes is like that next rivalry because Joe Burrow has beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs to get to a Super Bowl. And they've played in 2 AFC Championship games against each other. But, Josh Allen has gotten the better of Mahomes in the regular season, but it's been different in the postseason. That's when the Chiefs have, they're 3-0. Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 against Josh Allen in the postseason. And then, now one of them was an AFC Championship game, but, again, Mahomes wins in the playoffs. And then you got Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson only has one win against Mahomes, and I've brought that win up numerous times. And the Chiefs should have won that game. The Chiefs kind of gave away that game to the Ravens. Now, give the Ravens credit. They took advantage of the Chiefs' mistakes, and they ended up winning. But Lamar Jackson could be winless against Patrick Mahomes right now. So, we still got a long way to go. These guys got their whole careers ahead of them. So, maybe one of these guys really takes this, and we end up getting, that next Manning versus Brady, which I think right now, like I said, I would lean towards it being Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. But, and we don't necessarily need it. I think you do need it, but I don't think, people are begging for that. I think if we do get something like that, that's a plus, but that's just me. So, but yeah, I think I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the face of the league for as long as he's playing. Because he's just right now, he's built up his legacy where he is just so far ahead of everybody else that's playing right now. And the quarterbacks that have won, another thing I brought up, the quarterbacks that have won in his era are guys from the last era. Tom Brady, winning 2, one with the Patriots, one with the Buccaneers, and then you have Matthew Stafford winning with the Rams a few years ago. None of these other guys that, are playing in the Mahomes era now, they haven't done it. Now, that's not to say that 2024 is not the year for it. Absolutely could be. But we're still kind of playing the waiting game on who that's going to be. I think right now, and he concerns me because of his injuries, but I think Joe Burrow is that guy. I think Joe Burrow is the guy to get it done because he's made it to a Super Bowl. And like I said, he's been able to knock off Patrick Mahomes. But he's got to stay healthy. If he doesn't stay healthy, then this conversation doesn't mean anything. And Lamar Jackson, he's going to have something to say about it because, again, I think the Ravens are still going to be very good. I think most of us, pretty much all of us, do agree on that. So they're going to be battling it out for the division. You got another team that we just talked about, the Houston Texans. They're going to want to make a statement because they're going to be playing all the first-place teams from last year. They're taking on the Bills and the Ravens and the Chiefs later in the season, like we just went over. So they're going to have something to say about it. And, the Bills, I know they did lose some pieces. They don't have Stephon Diggs anymore, but you still got Josh Allen. So, those are the teams right now. And you know what? Well, I shouldn't just say that. You also got, if Aaron Rodgers is right and this Jets team is able to put it together this year, they could be a problem. You got the Dolphins with their high-powered. There's a lot of teams in the AFC, but who's going to be the one to step up and take down Patrick Mahomes and prevent the Chiefs from three-peating? I said it was the Bengals just because they've done it before, but we just got to hope that Joe Burrow stays healthy. So, but we got ways to go. And the Chiefs got better with their receiving core. Adding Marquise Brown, drafting Xavier Worthy. They improved at a position that was lacking last year. And if you get Travis Kelce healthy for this season, for the start of the season, that's another problem. Because he looked like the Travis Kelce of old in the postseason. And then, you got a solid offensive line and you got a good running game. So, and then backed by a very good defense. So the Chiefs they're not going to be struggling through the regular season like they did last year. I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to be crisp, and those explosive plays that were kind of missed, that have kind of been missed the last couple of years, those are going to be back. Mahomes is going to be airing it out more. Because you got Marquise Brown, that's a deep ball guy. And it's the same thing with Xavier Worthy. So, Chiefs offense is going to be back to, how it was. I mean, not exactly how it was with Tyreek Hill, but in some way, it's going to be like that. So, but, yeah, let me know what you guys think, though, about what we talked about. Who do you think is the face of the NFL right now? I mean, it is Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. So I'm with that with Cam. And it is no disrespect to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has been unbelievable. He's one of the best players in the NFL in general. And you see the impact that he has. He's gotten better as a passer. But, like the last couple of years, before last year, when he got hurt late in the season, that really affected the Ravens and what they were able to do. They still made the playoffs despite his injury the year before, and Tyler Huntley started the playoff game. But, if Lamar plays against the Bengals, maybe they win. And then the year before that, they were still in the mix for the playoffs, but they ended up missing out on it. Still had a chance, I think, in the last game of the season, and that was the year the Steelers made it, in Big Ben's final year. But, yeah, it's just with Lamar Jackson fully healthy, the defense and the way it was last year, it was a very good team. And they're looking to get back to the AFC Championship game and getting it done, getting past whoever they got to go against. If they got to go against the Chiefs, maybe they can do it and get back to the Super Bowl. Because I think if they got past the Chiefs, I think they were going to beat the Niners. I think we were going to. I don't know if we would have saw a repeat of what we saw on Christmas, but I think the Ravens, if they got past the Chiefs, they might have won the whole thing. But it didn't happen. So, and, they had a golden opportunity because they were the number 1 seed. They were at home, but they couldn't get it done. So, but that's my thoughts on it. We'll put a bow on this segment here. So we're going to take our next break here. And then when we come back, we'll discuss George Kittle's comments on Brock Purdy, his growth. We'll talk about it. So more 49ers stuff when we return from our third break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.